expert testimony, so it's just argument.
But,
the record's
empathetic
closed.
lawyers see where the tribunal places more importance, and they somehow change the structure of the posterior increase in view. I mean, to me, they're very, very, very useful.
Okay.
And I did my survey too, and it doesn't reflect the same information that Ms. Menaker says it reflects. So
It doesn't reflect.
I
What
mean,
is
regarding whether the annulment committees have requested post-hearing briefs or not. I mean, we are relying on different sets.
I mean, everybody's different. And in Spanish, we say, cada maestrillo tiene su librillo. And that's a challenge for the interpreters. But everyone has its own way of conducting proceedings.
Yeah.
Its own. And hopefully it's agreeable to you.
Mr. Gossis have, a consideration that we'd like to raise with the annulment committee.
Okay. Sure.
Just a point of clarification I want to ask of the committee regarding the question by the chair just now. Should we expect to address the issue of cash flows irrespective of any additional questions that you may have? Is that something you would expect us to address tomorrow with some
I want you
evidence?
Because I mean, you say there's contradictions in the award. There's contradictions on whether the data, and I'm not sure whether it's before regarding the historical losses or before the original tribunal, because it's slightly different. I don't know. One of the other, you say that the tribunal, the resubmission tribunal, said it wasn't enough to determine the loss of value. Yet afterwards, when they decide on the first portion of at the end of the first tariff period, they do use the same data and methodology, and you say there's a clear contradiction. I want to see that contradiction. If there's really a contradiction, I want to see it in the figures. I want to see whether it was enough, wasn't enough, whether they used something else, whether they considered other factors and they decided, no, they did not have any impact. I want to see that exercise reflected on the figures. Did I somehow make myself clearer now?
Absolutely, yes to us.
I think so. If I just offer one brief comment, what we had argued in the original annulment, and which I believe the committee agreed with us since they did annul, was that when the original tribunal said there was insufficient evidence, the problem is that when you're in a but-for scenario, you are always forecasting. And so what you rely upon are expert reports. There's no data. It doesn't exist yet, right?
Yes.
And that's what you always do. And they had not taken into account those forecasts and assumptions and the reasons why, or had not given any explanation as to why that constituted insufficient evidence. It was as if they were looking for evidence outside of all of the expert evidence. So just one comment I would make is that, yes, it was based on the same evidence that was before the original tribunal, but that evidence itself had not been commented upon or considered by the original tribunal as per the original annulment committee, as they found. There was no indication as to why the 1,200 pages of expert reports constituted insufficient evidence, or why the fairness opinion, for instance, that TECO had obtained before the sale constituted insufficient evidence. There was no discussion of any of that. But that was the same evidence, because there's no other evidence that could exist.
And I know you hold opposite views on whether it was the tribunal, the resubmission tribunal just expressing what the original tribunal had said, or whether it was the resubmission tribunal's own finding that the data before the original tribunal weren't enough to determine the loss of value claim. And I know that you think you interpret the award differently. But even assuming that it had said that it wasn't enough, or assuming that they didn't have said, I want to see how they obtained the 26 million. Okay. Or rather just the cash flows.
Okay.
Because I know how they deducted the actual value. I just want to see the cash flows in the but-for. Okay? Good. Yeah, the opening, tomorrow we start at 10 and we're supposed to finish by 2. And I think that should be enough. It's 4 hours. Should be enough, I think. Poor translators.
The questions tonight, I would not like to start any earlier.